Are you struggling to find a pathology lab that truly understands your needs? Look no further than Bako Diagnostics. With customized services for today's podiatric clinician, Bako Diagnostics continues their commitment to educational initiatives that propel the profession forward. Bako Diagnostics, more than just a pathology lab, they're your professional partner for podiatric pathology and therapeutics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dean's Chat, where we discuss all things podiatric medicine. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Jensen. I'm the Dean at the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine and the host for the Dean's Chat podcast. Holding down the fort in the studio is my co-host, Dr. Johanna Richey. Hi, Jo. How are you?
Hey, Jeff. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I understand your class is going incredibly well.
It is going. We are in the thick of it. Yeah, and it's funny. It just moves so fast. So trying to stay up on all these fun things I have planned for them, it's keeping me busy.
Well, we have a phenomenal guest today. She's one of our students in your current class. Her name is Bethany Robinson. Bethany, welcome to Dean's Chat.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Joanne and I are really excited to have you on the show. Bethany, you are from the Arizona College of Podiatric Medicine. You're in the class of 2026. You found podiatric medicine, we'll talk about that story in a little bit, by working with the Health Careers Institute. But you also went to the Northern Arizona University. And I've so enjoyed working with you in so many avenues and arenas, recruiting students, and you've been such a leader in your class. It's just a pleasure to have you on Dean's Chat. Thanks again for joining us.
Of course, it's such an honor to be here.
Oh, that's fabulous. You know, I think, Jo, the first place we should start is APMLE Boards Part 1. Yes. Bethany got her results last week. Bethany passed. Congratulations, Bethany.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I texted Dr. Richey like that morning. I was like, I passed. I was so excited. Yeah, it was amazing to see like the pass those 4 big letters. It was great.
Oh, congratulations. You know, Jo, I don't know if I've told you this, but we actually had like a 96.3% pass rate or something like that for the class. So that's wonderful for first-time takers.
Yeah, that's
outstanding. So Bethany, tell us a little bit about how you prepared, how the curriculum prepared you, anything you want to add that led up to taking the boards exam a few weeks ago.
For sure, yeah. So I started studying right around the time summer quarter part 1 started. And that was our first quarter is like a couple of weeks long. And then we have a 3-week break for dedicated board studying. So I started a little bit early, but I'm glad I did because I like to start slowly into those big books and all of the materials. But it was really good overall. I know my classmates were studying really hard. And a lot of them were also taking time to enjoy themselves at the same time because it is really hard to study for 10 odd hours a day. So I know some of my classmates were going rock climbing, which was inside, not outside, not in the Arizona heat. So, but yeah, we definitely made sure that it was a good balance between studying and enjoying life. Yeah.
So were you local where you took it? Did you take it at a testing center in Phoenix?
Yes, I took it at Estrella Community College, which I had never been to. And I'm glad I gave myself enough time because I was trying to find the place and I was like already stressed because it's boards. But then I couldn't find it. But then I saw some classmates of mine. So I like pulled over, parked, and I like ran after them. I was like, okay, I'm here. I see my friends. And it was good. There was a handful of us there as well. I think it was Remy, Allie P. So it was a good, we all got to take it together, which was nice.
Jo, it seems like yesterday that I was taking boards. You must feel the same way.
It's so funny, isn't it? Like I distinctly remember studying that break and sitting there at like hour 6 and I'm glazing over where my brain takes a break and thinking, am I ever going to get out of this? and at the same time, it feels like it was a lifetime ago. So
yeah,
good job. Part 1 is done.
I'm excited.
Bethany, how did you find the exam? I mean, you know, I know a great percentage of the exam is anatomy and lower extremity anatomy. Yeah. Did you feel like you were prepared for it?
Definitely. I definitely felt prepared. I know Midwestern, our basic science courses are like beyond phenomenal. So definitely spent a good amount of time with pharmacology, microbiology, and those were a good chunk of my exam. I had a lot of lower extremity anatomy. So I'm glad I spent the time I did with those subjects. But yeah, there's like always those random ones where you're like, where did they come up with this? But but I mean, that's why you study really hard, because that way you get all of the easy questions. At least you find them easy because you studied so hard for them. So,
You know, I haven't gotten the full results back on each of the sections, but
yeah.
our students traditionally, three of the hardest are the three Ps, right? Path, Farm, and Physio.
Yeah.
And our students do exceedingly well on those. So I think it's one of the reasons we've got among the highest board passing rate in the country. So congratulations to you and all of your classmates.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
congratulations. Did you find any particular resources that were really useful for you when you were studying?
I think a lot of my classmates would say the same thing, but sketchy. I'm a very much visual learner, and there's just, I don't know if you're familiar with like the platform, but they're just fun little like sketches. And it just like makes me remember drugs. Like I remember this little corner of this little sketch. And my brother's studying for the MCAT right now, so I was like telling him, I was like, Quinn, like you gotta use sketchy because it's been the best thing for me so far.
Excellent.
That's fabulous. Well, let's talk about how you got interested in podiatric medicine and your experience with the Health Career Institute, because I know you're still working with them.
Mm-hmm.
We sure would like to get more students like you, Bethany, here at the college.
Yeah, yeah. So the Midwestern Health Careers Institute, it was a week-long camp back when I did it, but now it's become almost 2 weeks, and it's typically in June or July, and it's high school students from the Valley of Arizona. I did it my junior year of high school, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I knew I wanted to do something in medicine. My mom's an occupational therapist. My aunt's a physical therapist. So I was like, I knew something, but I didn't know what. In that camp, you get to explore all of the programs that Midwestern University offers, which is so many programs. And podiatry was one of them. And I always been picking at my brain. I'm like, I can't remember who presented the podiatry section, but then one quarter I was talking to Dr. Wisman, and he told me he used to run that, and I was like, I feel like you were it. Like I think you were it, Dr. Wisman. So it's just so weird to like, he taught lower extremity anatomy for us last summer, so it's just a crazy full circle moment. But yeah, it's a really great time. Allie P and I worked a lot this summer and putting that program on. It was a couple weeks before board, so it was like a little stressful, but it was also like a great break from studying, is like getting to do something fun and working with students. And then I also encouraged my brother when he was in high school to do it. And I think it was during COVID, so it wasn't in person, but it was a good time even though it was virtual.
So what tipped the scales for you to go into podiatric medicine then?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think the October before I went to the Health Careers Institute, I was in a rodeo accident, and I broke my ankle, and it was a whole thing. And I think when I first heard about podiatry, I was almost turned off by it because I was so fresh off of the injury, and it's like so hard to like think of something that's like kind of changed your sport and like how you're able to do what you love. But I went off to NAU, and I was like, I knew I still wanted to do something in the medical field, and I shadowed some doctors, podiatrists in particular, and all of them had graduated from Midwestern University. So it kind of like pulled me back to like that 1 week in high school, like junior year. And I was like, I remember like that one like morning session of like, I think we did suturing on pig feet, which we still do nowadays. And it was just like it reminded me of it. And I had a really great time shadowing the docs up in Flagstaff. And I just knew after a couple of hours of shadowing a couple of docs, I was like, that's it. Yep. And it was the only school I applied to too. And then I didn't know Midwestern was like one of like the best podiatry programs in the nation. And I'm very lucky it is, because I didn't even look at the other programs, but Midwestern was the best one for me.
We're glad you didn't look at the other programs.
We got lucky too.
Yep, absolutely. So every week we're interviewing students to come into the school. Joe and I do interviews, and I do a dean's chat with them. And one of the big topics is scholarships. And we give some money for matriculation scholarships, but perhaps not as much as some of the other schools.
Mhm.
And when Joe and I were talking about having you on Dean's Chat, we really wanted you to talk about all of the scholarship opportunities that you've kind of uncovered. Because I got to tell you, Bethany, I've written more letters of recommendation for you for scholarships than any other student ever, and I commend you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, scholarships have been like my little niche since high school. It was like a little like easy thing I could do on the weekends. I would just like search online for like random scholarships. And I've been very blessed to have received multiple, like a lot of the ones I have applied to. And um, I did the same thing when I was at NAU. When I went up to AZCPM, my mom like was like, I don't think there's a lot of like scholarships for graduate school. I feel like that kind of stops for undergrad. And I was like, I don't think so, Mom. And it was maybe a little bit harder of a search. Like there aren't as many, but they are out there if you look for them. So I've stuck with it, and I'm very grateful to have received a handful of them.
Do you have any tips for students in terms of search features or words? Like, how do you go about finding some of these opportunities?
Yeah, I think I would say a good Google search is like the number one go-to. I recently saw that APMSA updated their scholarship website. They have a list of scholarships on there. So I'll go on there. There's also databases online that different like programs have up, and I just like scroll through there and just like explore. I mean, not every scholarship is going to have the same qualifications that you can fulfill, but you just have to look. It doesn't take too long, maybe an hour here or there, and you should hopefully find one or two.
I know that you got the Spirit of Service Award from Midwestern University, and that's a special scholarship because they only give one or two of those to any college within Midwestern. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. I was really shocked, but it was great to see. I appreciate it.
And fantastic. Do you want to move on and talk about some of your scholarly work? My gosh, you had 4 posters at the recent Kenneth Suarez Research Day at Midwestern. You've had a couple of publications. You've given some talks in different environments.
Yeah.
What's motivated you to go above and beyond the curriculum and above and beyond all of service things you do to really get into the research and scholarly work that a lot of students don't partake in?
Yeah. Research, I've always been really interested in research. I was on a research committee back in undergrad, and it really just like inspired me to do more and like ask questions. And then when you can't find answers for those questions, like why not just like find those answers for yourself? So that's what I find research to be, is finding those answers. And I think a lot of those times students struggle with like, well, I don't know anything. Like you're like in your first, second year of podiatry, and it's like we're just learning like the bare bones. Like, how can I come up with this like really unique question in regards to podiatry? And it doesn't have to be all that unique. I also really encourage students to look at what you have your own personal experience is, and that's what led me to my rodeo project. Is when I looked online, there were a lot of studies on overall injuries in rodeo athletes, but there weren't any that focused on lower extremity injuries. And obviously with my own past experience, that was something I was interested in. So I did a meta-analysis, statistical analysis, and that's how I had a poster at the Suarez conference at Midwestern University. And I was so excited because it got selected to do an oral presentation for it. And I was terrified. I'm not a big talker, like especially when it comes to like people being in the audience. But it was really fun. And like half of my class showed up for it. So that was like really nice. Like once I got up there, I was like, okay, I see like classmates, and that made me calm down. But yeah, research, I've always really enjoyed it. And it's a nice thing to do outside of school. Like it's a scholarly activity, but rather than like looking at the textbooks and flipping through pages, I can do something else, and I really enjoy it.
Joe, you've worked with a lot of the students on student-initiated research programs, and I just think it's fascinating how students, even though they don't feel like they know a lot, they do exactly what Bethany's talking about. They have an interest, they have an experience, and that leads them down a road. So you're working with a lot of students in that same regard.
Yeah, and actually Bethany's been a big part of that. So another role that she's been doing at the college for us is she's been functioning as kind of the coordinator for the American College of Foot and Ankle Surgeons Club as the research committee coordinator. Is that director? I'm not sure exactly what the title is,
like
but she's been in charge of helping kind of oversee the research that the club has kind of been working on, engaging students with and creating some of these projects. And so Bethany has been fantastic and absolutely instrumental to the success of all of us. because she's helped keep all of us on a schedule, it's amazing how fast everything goes. And I love that she's so inquisitive. Like, that is how we come up with questions. And I actually did not know that I knew you had your injury, but I did not know it was from a rodeo. So that's such a fun little fact in terms of just, again, bringing it all full circle, right? But just recently we had another meeting, and just the way that she coordinates the schedule and the agenda and, deadlines for certain things and looking ahead. And she's just a wonderful resource to her colleagues and helping other students with IRB applications and REDCap and all of these other tools that can be used for research. And so, again, I just commend you, Bethany, for all of the hard work that you've done. I'm so grateful to have met you. And one of the projects that I would love to also kind of shamelessly plug is she came to me with an idea, so I'm going to let her talk a little bit about it. But essentially, we've been able to rally support from, I don't want to overspeak, but I think all of the professional organizations in the podiatric medical surgical community. And so in such a neat way, kind of bring everyone together around a certain topic. And so with that, Bethany, I'm going to throw the ball back to you. And can you talk a little bit about what was one of the reasons or sparks for the current project that you're working on?
Yeah, of course. And thank you for all those kind words. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor to work with you, and I'm excited to see all the projects that we'll have at the ACFAS conference here in Phoenix, which I'm so excited that it's in Phoenix. I think that's going to be so much fun. But yeah, so Dr. Richey and I have been working on this really cool project that is going to determine the prevalence of breast cancer in female foot and ankle surgeons. And I was inspired to do that project from a TikTok, which is like so like Gen Z of me. But there is a TikTok account made by Dr. Betsy Grunch. She's a neurosurgeon, and she had a paper in one of like the recent podiatry journals. And she's just so amazing when it comes to sharing information online. And one day I came across one of her TikToks, and it was about breast cancer prevalence in orthopedic surgeons. And she shared the data that there's a 4 times higher prevalence of breast cancer in orthopedic surgeons. And I was just like I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so crazy. And I looked into it a little bit more, and it's due to the radiation that comes when working with fluoro in the OR. And a lot of the times the lead vests don't properly cover the full axillary region. So I like did a whole deep dive on it, and it was really fascinating. So I went to Dr. Richey and I was like, I feel like there's something here that we can do with this. So we put together the survey for residents and current podiatrists to take. And it has a lot of questions about their overall health and preventative measures they may have taken. And then obviously, like, have they had breast cancer before and any other cancers? So I know cataracts is also a common thing with all of the radiation. So it's been taken really positively by a lot of the national organizations. A handful have shared it through their email lists. And then we're also working on a TikTok ourselves that we want to put out. And my like hope is that Dr. Grunch will share it to her social media, because she has so many followers. And I think that would be amazing to really get the word out on it. So maybe we can include the link for the survey, hopefully, like in the show notes.
I would imagine you can get quite an N. And, if you're working with everybody in the profession, this should be a tremendous study.
I'm really excited. We've already gotten about 70 participants. So I think we can definitely get the number up, but it's amazing. So like that alone is already a good amount. So I'm excited.
And I think just the amount of support that our profession has really given. Again, I was really impressed as we started kind of going down the different discussions about, okay, so what's the best way to do this? How are we going to try to catch as wide of a net as possible? And overwhelmingly, there was not any one group that was like, no, we're not interested. Everyone was interested. A few organizations really asked a lot of really great questions. And so, as we've been going through the IRB process, like, as you know, like everything is a process and it does take time, but we are so grateful to the community at large in terms of their support to us and willingness to share all the information with their members. So again, just a giant appreciation to the various organizations that have been supporting us to share the survey. So
yeah, I second that.
Keep up that inquisitive nature, Bethany. That's a breath of fresh air. I think it's fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Jensen. I really appreciate it.
If you were to give,
it might not be,
can I ask her a quick question about research?
of course.
So if you were to give other students like tips or suggestions, what are some things that you would give them in terms of how to consider? Because as you know, now you're a third year, it goes really quickly. So what would you say are some good tips in terms of how to get involved or how to start that process?
Yeah. There's multiple ways to go about it. I think the first one you can do is just set a meeting with one of the professors and just like say, hi, like I'm really interested in research. I know probably multiple students have done that with you, Dr. Richey, because they just like don't know where to start. So they obviously go to you because you're like the queen of research at Midwestern.
I don't know about that.
But I mean, just setting a meeting with any of like the professors at your college, because so many are involved in research. And if they're not involved in a project, they know other doctors who are. So that's like the go-to. If you have your own idea, like you can still go ahead and set a meeting. Maybe bring a couple of journal articles so that they can like get an idea of what you've been reading and what kind of paper is out there, depending on if you want to do a lit review, like a meta-analysis. There's so many different avenues you can do with research. So yeah, and if you want, or if they're struggling with an idea on their own, I had the committee members look at the abstracts that like the APMA has had. They put out like PDF documents with all the abstracts that doctors submit for the conference. And I think it's just really cool to see the titles as well. And sometimes those will just trigger thoughts of like, oh, that's really interesting. Let me go look at that. And then you pull up like the journal that conference or that organization has. Like I know Midwestern, their library has like APMA, like all their journals, so I can really easily access a lot of those articles, which is great.
Great advice.
I'll throw a little shameless plug in there for the school, because we have, in the last, I think it's 5 years now, 72 students involved in student-initiated research.
Wow.
And
That's
so
impressive.
when you ask students, hey, what do you think? If you don't ask somebody to participate, you're not going to get anything back. So I think I'm just so proud of our students. They come in with these proposals and they're vetted by the faculty and they're massaged a little bit, and the design is assisted by the faculty. But I got to give the students all the credit. They come in with just phenomenal ideas, and you're one of them, Bethany. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I know Dr. Kraleski, like she has the case studies that so many students have. And it was insane. Like I was walking down one of the aisles at the Midwestern conference and I was like, Kraleski. I was like, it was every poster. It was awesome. It was great to see.
And we were talking last week with Dr. Vlahovic, who's very instrumental in dermatology in our profession. And as we're discussing, if students don't get exposed to research in undergrad or podiatry school or residency, they're never going to get exposed to it. So I think it's great that students are so involved and so enthusiastic about it. It might not be a bad time to give a shout out to our sponsor, Bako Diagnostics.
Absolutely.
We all know that early detection is the most important determination in improving patient outcomes. Bako Diagnostics remains committed to supporting you in your role as the first line of defense in diagnosing lower extremity pathologies. Bako Diagnostics, helping podiatric physicians keep America on its feet. Bako's awesome, right? They're at every meeting. They're so supportive. In fact, Bethany, this might be a good segue into some of your courses now as a third-year student. You're taking dermatology right now. How's that going?
It's going really good. I have an exam on Thursday, so that's going to be the rest of my afternoon. But I'm really excited. Monday, we have Bako coming in for one of our really big labs with that class, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be some very good skills that I'll be using the rest of my career. So I'm very grateful to Bako.
Yeah, Dr. Bill Shearer is flying in on a Sunday, and he'll be getting all the pig's feet, and we'll be doing biopsy techniques, and it's just a phenomenal lab. I believe Bako's been doing it here for about 5 years with our third-year students. So you'll enjoy it immensely. It's a lot of fun, and Dr. Shearer is a great lecturer, so you'll enjoy that a lot. Let's talk about this surgery course you're taking right now, Bethany.
No pressure.
Yeah. It's been amazing. I mean, surgery is like one of the reasons I came into podiatry, because I've always known like the OR is like, that's going to be my second home for sure. And it's been so amazing having Dr. Richey teach that class. It's very fast paced. We definitely learn a lot in one day. I think Monday we were in class from like 8 to 5. We had a lunch break in between, but it was well, maybe not Monday. No, Fridays we have pod surge all day. But I mean, it's interesting, and it's obviously Dr. Richey, and she keeps the energy very high in the classroom, so you can't fall asleep in her lectures. They're very amazing. I love them.
So
It's a
Joe,
long day.
one of the benefits to the school and the students, of course, in you joining our faculty, was to bring advanced surgical techniques. So do you mind just saying a few words about your course and what your goals and objectives are for the students?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been such a fun opportunity. I've been teaching the surgery course for a long time. So what's been really unique about this particular course, I have to give a huge shout out to Dr. Curtis, who had set it up already in this idea of being advanced pathomechanics and surgery. So it's really starting to integrate a lot of their previous courses all into this idea of surgical treatment for patients. And so we haven't yet gotten to the recon stuff. Most of it's been trauma related for the first portion of the course. But it's been an interesting thought experiment for me when we have them all day long. Nobody wants to listen to me speak all day long, myself included. And so figuring out clever ways to keep them engaged with the content, creating a lot of these case-based workups you have to go through lecture to some degree as a student because you need the core content. But it's been interesting as students choose to engage with lecture content in lots of different ways. Not every student benefits from sitting in someone's lecture live, and I can appreciate that. So what I've been trying to incorporate for them is you choose what you're going to do about lecture. I love having them in class because it's so much more fun to engage with students during lecture. And there's a good number of students that come, but I can appreciate that's just not how everyone learns the best. So the other part of the course then is going to be is more hands-on opportunities. We have a lab coming up on Friday, and I love that I get to start applying some of these concepts in a hands-on way for them. And then case-based situations is the other one, having them work them up, just like when I was in a residency program as an attending and I'd have a student with me as an extern. I'd be like, all right, Bethany, let's pull this x-ray up. Go, tell me everything you know about this, because that's such a different transition for a student to have gone from sitting in a lecture, memorizing content, regurgitating it on an exam, and now all of a sudden you have this talar neck fracture in front of you. Oh, what do I do, right? So I think it's been fun. I'm hoping that the students are also finding it fun. And yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I was thinking to myself, what a great launching pad after boards. Bethany, you can clear your mind. You don't have to worry about that anymore and just off to the races. It's great.
Oh yeah. It's like, I feel like we're finally getting to the podiatry, as a whole, pod surge, that's the best part about podiatry, if I do say so. So it's very exciting to be in her class right now.
Well, I'm also going to totally do a plug since we just talked with Kevin Kirby. My real excitement is when we start getting into some of the recon and being able to integrate all of the biomechanics into surgery. Nerd. The other one that has been, again, really valuable from my perspective, especially as I've been working with a lot of the residents in the AO courses, is starting to kind of test their understanding of fracture mechanics, fixation mechanics, plate screws, internal fixation. We know that they've gotten the content, but again, applying it and having to think about it in different ways, they just maybe haven't had to do that yet. But in 2 months, they are, right? So and this is what I love about class, is I can get immediate feedback from them about, what do you know about how is this plate applied? What is this? How do you get a lag screw? And you can see that moment where they have that deja vu, right? I know I knew this, but I don't remember it. I have not had to engage with this for a year, maybe, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it's been. So kind of helping pull that information back to the front of their brain and engage with it now in this new way, and kind of pull all these lower extremity anatomy. We do so much anatomy, but it's very much surgical anatomy. We do, again, we're going to be doing more biomechanics, but all of that, to start to pull all these different subjects together and really start looking at treatment plans as a whole. So while it is a surgery course, as my very nerdy way of inserting all of the other specialties that we deal with, it's been really fun.
Oh, that's great. Well, there you go, Bethany. That's your future right in front of you. So Bethany, from a volunteerism, research perspectives, what do you anticipate over the next few years for you leading up or into residency?
Yeah, I mean, I guess pretty much continuing what I'm doing now. I am really enjoying the research, and I think I'm kind of at like the beginning stage of a lot of this research because, as you know, like research takes a long time. So by the time I'm a fourth year, hopefully I'll be looking at like publishing the results we get from the breast cancer survey. I'm working with Dr. Highrosen with my rodeo paper. Hopefully, like that will be published soon. And I also really enjoy community service. It's just something like it's feels good for the soul sometimes. So I really enjoy that. I do a lot with Special Olympics with Dr. Jenkins. He's really great with that. I think he's the director for Arizona Special Olympics, healthy athletes. That's the right term. And then Shoes That Fit. They're a really cool nonprofit that brings shoes to students that don't always have the funds to have shoes of their own that properly fit. So it's been really great to work with those two organizations.
It's fabulous. And I only have one more question. What would, and Joe, you may have some also, what advice would you give to a student who's starting next week in their orientation here at the Arizona College? What advice would you give them to be successful in the first quarter?
Yeah, that's so funny because I actually have a friend who I think is just started her first week at DMU. So I'll have to send her the same information. But it's a whirlwind. I mean, like I had a kind of a hard adjustment. Like the first quarter, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much, so fast. And I thought I had the advantage because I came fresh out of undergrad. I was like, okay, like I haven't forgotten how to study, you know, but it's totally different. I mean, like, you know, like, so it was definitely took me some time to get comfortable with the material, how to approach lecture. I found that studying or reviewing the slides before going to lecture allowed me to really take in what the teachers are telling you. So like for students coming in, like it's obviously like really overwhelming. Give yourself grace. It's a very like, it can be a hard transition, but you're going to get through it. And you have mentors, like the first years are going to have second year bigs that they can text all the time. I know my big, I probably bug her so much because I'm always texting and calling, but I really appreciate like all the insight and the advice that bigs do provide. So they're going to kick butt. I know it. So.
Very good. Joe, any last questions on your end?
No, I think that's perfect.
All right. Well, Bethany, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being such a role model for other students and incoming students. Thank you. And we sure look forward to following your career. All we're going to have to do is open up any of the podiatric journals, and you're going to be in there.
She's going to be a leader. You can just feel it.
100%, 100%. Well, thanks again. To all of our listeners on Apple and Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. And if you're watching on YouTube, by all means, become a subscriber. Bethany, I've got a Dean's Chat cup for you waiting in my office at the college. And to all of our listeners, thank you again. We appreciate you listening and tuning in each week. So cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Great job, Bethany.
Very good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, you know, 35 minutes went by kind of fast.
I know.
I did.
Whoa,
I'm so excited for this mug, Dr. Jensen. You have no idea. I've been like holding out. I'm like, this mug is going to be in my room at some point, like right next to my table or on my table next to my laptop.
That's awesome.
I love it.
You'll have to take a picture and put it on social media.
I'll be in the office Thursday and Friday. Come on up. I'll get you your mug
Okay.
for sure.
I will.
Okay, so good. All right, Bethany. Well, thank you so much on last minute jumping in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course.
It's so fun because every once in a while, this is the third time that Joe and I have, the day of the interview, a doc has been called into the ER at night. So that happens. It's the nature of the business, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm
all right,
glad.
Joe, we'll see you in a little bit. Okay,
Thanks, Bethany.
Bye-bye.